Do you want to headshot people but don't want to play sniper? Do you want to kill clueless snipers in the most ironic way possible? Did you find a frag montage on YouTube and try to replicate the results by copy and pasting the loadout, only to realize that there's more to it than that to get those kinds of results? If you said yes to any of my questions, I have the guide for you. How yin's doing? I'm Ian, and this is my TF2 How to Killstreak series, where we look at the best and worst weapons this game has on offer, and I show you how to get a killstreak with them. Because everything is a bad idea until it works. Today, as you could tell by reading the title and thumbnail of this video, we'll be covering the Ambassador. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it.
What are you, president of his fan club?
No. That would be your mother.
What the? Wait,
The Ambassador is a revolver for the Spy that is acquired from the Spy Milestone 1 achievement. As for what it does, it grants you the power to headshot players at close range, at the cost of a 15% damage penalty, as well as impairing your firing speed by about a fifth. Please bear in mind that headshots and critical hits are functionally indistinguishable in this game since they both do 3 times the base damage of whatever you would have done otherwise. This means that 15% damage penalty is affecting your overall DPS. This means that a random crit from your stock revolver will actually do more damage than the Ambassador landing a headshot. But as anyone who is at least half decent at video games can tell you, praying to RNGesus for a random crit is not the most reliable technique, especially when compared to simply aiming for someone's head. Because of this, the Ambassador was for the longest time considered a straight upgrade from the stock revolver. However, this weapon was eventually deemed too powerful by Valve after they started seeing clips of people being able to headshot people from across the map. So Valve effectively went and said, okay dude, if you're gonna headshot people from across the map, you need to be playing sniper, not spy, we're gonna nerf this weapon now. The solution they ended up going with was applying damage falloff to your bullets. This means enemies outside of 1200 hammer units of you are effectively incapable of being headshot by this gun, regardless if you hit their head or not. For reference, that's approximately the same distance a pyro engineer or sniper can walk in about 4 seconds, or the distance between the 2 forts on 2 Fort. Because of this, if you're trying to shoot people from outside of the Ambassador's headshot range nowadays, it's actually objectively worse than your other revolvers. However, realistically speaking, you really shouldn't be trying to shoot people at that distance if you're playing Spy. Sure, you might have a clutch moment or two where you kill someone just before they reach a health pack by shooting them across the map, but realistically, if you're doing that, they probably would have died to any kind of love tap damage to begin with, regardless of what gun you were using. Still, as long as you have good aim and aren't expecting a straight upgrade from stock, the Ambassador is still a great weapon to use for any Spy. This is because while going for a backstab is always going to be a better option in terms of killing people, since a backstab is an insta-kill, whilst the Ambassador's headshot can actually be survived by several classes, most notably Heavy, you need to keep in mind that once you have been found out and people start facing you, backstabbing is no longer going to be a realistic option. This means the Ambassador is the best gun in the game for skilled players who have lost the element of surprise and don't have the option of running away, aka the only situation where you should really be pulling out your revolver as Spy in the first place. Okay, I lied. The Ambassador is actually the objectively best weapon in one very specific situation. Razorback snipers. What's that? I can't kill you with my bread and butter melee weapon? That's okay, I'll just kill you by doing the exact thing you're trying to do now. As you can imagine, the Ambassador is actually extremely popular among players who are very confident in their skills. Stereotypically, these are the kunai-wielding Deadringer spies who pull this thing out every time that trick stabbing proves impossible, such as against air-blasting pyros. And for any seasoned Spy main, this can be quite the devastating loadout to pull out, since the kunai can make you very tanky once you get a few backstabs under your belt, and if you can't pull that off, the Deadringer is a literal get-out-of-jail-free card. This loadout, however, will understandably annoy many, since it makes the fundamentally inconsistent and unreliable class into something far more consistent and annoying, regardless if the individual put the hours and skill to warrant that. And while I could just say, use the Deadringer to cheat death and get good at headshots and you're golden, I would honestly feel bad about doing that, since that sounds about as helpful as the average boomer saying, just work harder whenever someone says they can't afford something. So instead, let me give you some general advice for when you're playing Spy. First and foremost, make sure that when you're using your disguises that you're actually acting like whoever you're disguised as. For instance, if you want to disguise yourself as an enemy sniper, stand around in a place where a sniper could realistically get a good line of sight on your own team and aim your crosshairs there so that people will think that you're actually, a sniper and not a spy who is clearly walking up to me to get a backstab, because why the hell would a sniper be walking up to me? I mean, seriously, man, if a pyro is WM1ing all over the cart, just don't even bother trying to go for a backstab there unless you want to end your kill streak as soon as you get started. Another useful piece of advice I have to give is to always be willing to change your loadout. This piece of advice can apply to any class in the game really, but it's especially applicable to Spy, since when you're playing Spy, you're going to be playing mind games with the enemy team all the damn time. So if you started using the Dead Ringer and they caught on, consider swapping to your other watches so that when you die, they'll end up wasting time trying to find the real you. Hell, if you want to go the extra mile, you can try to act like a clueless noob who has no idea what they're doing as they bum rush the enemy team like a complete dumbass to the point where they stop thinking of you as a serious threat, so that you'll end up having an easier time sneaking past them later. When it comes to using the Ambassador specifically, I strongly recommend having the Cloak and Dagger during setup time. This will allow you to cloak and hide in a perfect position for you to wait for the enemy team to start pouring out and then line up that headshot. Naturally, if you have no intention of using your knife in the first place, I recommend using the Spycicle. This is because the Spycicle is the only knife in the entire game that gives you some sort of practical benefit when you're not going for backstabs, since everything else effectively makes your life harder unless you're able to get backstabs with it. This means for anyone who's going hardcore gun spy, the Spycicle is objectively the best melee weapon for you to use. All in all, I give the Ambassador an aim dependent out of 10. If you have good aim in this game, the Ambassador is a great weapon to consider, but if you're not very good at landing your shots in the first place, the Ambassador will be a straight downgrade. Still, this weapon has been a staple in the Spy meta for so long that it's effectively a must-try for anyone who wishes to try to main the Spy class. As a result, I strongly recommend every single person who gets into TF2 to at least try using this weapon at some point. But that's all for now, folks. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you don't want to miss the next one, comment what weapons you want to see me cover in the future. I've been Ian, you have been you, and this has been my TF2 How to Killstreak Guide to the Ambassador. And stay tuned, the Black Box is coming up next.